Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the DC Capstone Report, another podcast on Alabama football. I want to thank each and every one of you tuning in and listening to our podcast. I really appreciate Lance Shores and all he does to make this possible each and every week. Well, this week we're coming off of a bye week, and so in this week on the podcast, in the first segment, we're going to review the bye week. In the second segment, we're going to take a look at the players to watch in the upcoming game against the LSU Tigers. And third and final segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the LSU Tigers. You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com. Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. Here in the first segment, we're going to take a look at the bye week. Good news is that nothing broke during the bye week, no breaking news. And the reason that's good news is most of the time in a bye week when there's anything that's newsworthy, it's usually bad news. A lot of the players go home for the bye week, and if there's any trouble going to happen while they're away from the structured environment of the program, sometimes that happens. But so far, we haven't heard any bad news. Nothing has happened while they were gone. Seems like this team has stayed together during that time, and I believe we've taken the bye week to do exactly what we wanted to do, and that is to get healthy and concentrate on the remaining parts of our schedule. We have to be healthy down the road because we got two big games coming up. The first one against LSU in Baton Rouge on Saturday night. That's the next game on our schedule, and then after that game, we go to Ole Miss, another tough away game to play. So we got to get healthy to play these two SEC West powerhouse teams, and both are away games, and it's important. Well, the only bad news that came out of the bye week was we learned that Justin Aboigbe, his neck injury, had required some surgery. That's most likely have him out for the rest of this season. Now, that's a big loss on the defensive line because he played a great role in stopping the run, and he was able to get some push on that for pass rush pressure up the middle, especially helping out when they're stunning with the outside linebackers. So Justin Aboigbe will be missed. We wish him well. We hope that his surgery was successful, and they'll have a complete and successful recovery. What that's going to do is it's going to open up a slot there for some people on the defensive line that may have not have got some reps to be getting more reps. So look for some of the young people there to step up during this bye week and try to make a playing time for themselves to contribute on this defensive line. So losing Justin Aboigbe will definitely hurt our depth on the defensive line. But I was able to hear that coming out of the bye week, Bryce Young got some good rest on his shoulder. He was able to get some therapy and some physical therapy in that's helped his shoulder. So I think he'll be able to practice. He won't be limited in practice coming up as we prepare for LSU, so the timing should be better. His play should be better. His rapport and his relationship, chemistry, if you will, with his wide receivers ought to be better in this LSU game. And that was a positive coming out of the bye week. Also, some other players that have been nicked up, just some players that have been hurt a little bit, nicked up, have been playing through those, were able to rest up and get well. So it looks like we'll have a full complement of players that are at their high standard of health and wellness during this game as we go into Baton Rouge, which we're going to need. So I think coming off the bye week, just realizing that there was no serious bad news other than the loss of Justin Aboigbe for the year, which is definitely a tragedy for that young man who's worked hard to create playing time for himself. But no other bad news coming out of the bye week, all positive. Looks like the team is gelled together, is ready for this upcoming game against LSU. So I think the bye week was good for our team to get healthy, and good for us to be able to concentrate and work on a game plan for going into LSU. I understand we were able to work on some things that will help us hopefully during the crowd noise. So I believe that the bye week was successful, and we needed it, and it came right at the right time. Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. Here on the second segment, we're going to preview some of the players to watch against the upcoming game against LSU. Right off the bat, I think none other than Bryce Young will be the player to watch in this game against LSU. I believe as Bryce Young goes, so does this Alabama football team on offense. And I believe he is healthy. He's had an opportunity to get his shoulder rehabbed more during the bye week, and he is really tuned in. I believe he'll be on point with his throws, and it looks like he'll be able to manage his game well. One of the things to watch for him is to be able to his communication with his wide receivers and his offensive line during the hostile environment there in Baton Rouge. I believe they worked on it this past week. I looked to see some of that cleaned up of our communications on the roads where it looks like the crowds have impacted us. I believe they were able to prepare for that. I think Bryce Young will be the person that leads us in making the right calls at the line and getting that communicated to everyone in the process. Look for his throws to be crisper. Look for his chemistry with his wide receivers to be better. And all the rust have taken off as he was off a little bit, not able to compete as much with his shoulder hurting. So I think Bryce Young will be a player to watch in this game. Look for him to have a big breakout game since his injury. He's been doing great, but look at him even have a better game this game against LSU on the road. The other player on offense I think you need to look for is Jahmyr Gibbs. There have been some LSU has given up some 100-yard games to some running backs in the SEC West recently in the last 3 or 4 weeks when they played them. So I think we're going to have to take advantage of the running game in this game. So I look for Jahmyr Gibbs to have a big game rushing the ball as well as a big game catching the ball out of the backfield. I really believe this could be one of his biggest games. I know he went a couple of games there where he went over 150 yards. I would think that in this game he could go over 150 yards, total yards. That's receiving and rushing, and he might even eclipse that 200-yard mark in this game. I think he's healthy. I think he comes back, and he has a really good matchup in this game is Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield against some of the linebackers and safeties on the LSU team. So look for us to hopefully take advantage of that matchup with Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. So I think he has a big game running the ball and a big game passing the ball, which we're going to need that out of him on the road to quieten this crowd. On defense, I'm really looking, one of the players to watch is Eli Ricks. Eli Ricks had a breakout game against Tennessee. I'm sorry, not against Tennessee, a breakout game in our last game against Mississippi State where he really clamped down on the cornerback from the cornerback position, knocking the ball away on several pass breakups and really covering his man well. So I look for Eli Ricks to play in this game, have a little bit of edge, a little bit of extra, going up against his old teammates and his old team there in LSU. I think he knows the tendencies of the team. I think he knows the tendencies of the wideout. So I look for him to have the advantage in this particular game. So look for him to start and really make an impact early on defense. And I believe his impact will be felt on the first couple of series in the passing game. So I look for Eli Ricks to really have a big game against LSU. The other person I want you to look for is the person we look for every game on defense, and that's Will Anderson Jr. I think if anyone needed the bye week more than Bryce Young or just as much as Bryce Young, it was Will Anderson Jr. I believe most of the fans don't realize it, but he's been playing through a lot of just nicks and nicked up. He's been playing through a lot of hurt that you gain over an 8-game season in the SEC playing. And I think he needed that time to rest and recharge, both mentally and physically. So I look for Will Anderson Jr. to have a big game out of this game. I think LSU is going to have to protect the quarterback, and I believe that he'll be running for his life all night long from Will Anderson Jr. I believe they're going to have to know where he is on every play so that they can help protect their quarterback from him. But I look for him to have a big game. So my 4 players to watch in the game against LSU are Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs on offense, and Eli Ricks and Will Anderson Jr. on defense. Well, welcome back to the DC Capstone Report. Let me again thank Lance Shores for doing such a great job of producing this segment and this podcast for us each and every week. If you haven't gone out and checked out Lance's other sites, freelancepictures.com or rolltidebama.com, you need to go. You got some great Alabama football pictures there. If you're an Alabama fan or you have a parent of a $1 million band member or a cheerleader or a Crimsonette or a football player, he has some great pictures there that you can download off of his website. Again, that's freelancepictures.com or rolltidebama.com. Well, in this third and final segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the LSU Bengal Tigers there in Baton Rouge. That's right, we're going in at dark in Baton Rouge where it's hard to win. It's a tough place to play. A lot of noise, A lot of fan excitement about this team. This LSU team now is in a position to compete for a championship in the West. That's their goal, and their coach has been very outspoken that his reason for coming to the SEC so he could compete and beat Nick Saban. So I think that this team is hyped up. The fans are going to be hyped up. They smell blood in the water. They saw what Tennessee did to Alabama, and they're going to try to come in at their home and disrupt the flow of the game with the noise of the crowd and the atmosphere and try to make it rattle Alabama in this game. So I look for the team to come out very passionate. Brian Kelly has really got his offense instilled now. Their team quarterback, his system is working within the system now. Jaden Daniels, a transfer, and he can extend plays with his legs. He can throw the ball well, and they've got LSU has some great athletic players all over the field, and they're beginning to believe. And that's what Brian Kelly wants his team to do, is believe. They believe, and they really believe that they can beat Alabama at their home and compete for the West Championship. So Alabama's got his work cut out for them. The good thing about that is Alabama has had a track record of playing really well at night in Baton Rouge against LSU, and we've had some tough games and some close games, but we've come out victory a lot under Coach Saban. So I think it's going to be a really good ball game for Alabama to see what they're made of here. The second half of this season after the bye week, the ball's in our court, if you will. We got to win every game that we play in order to make it to the college football playoff. If we take care of the game that's ahead of us, the game that's on our schedule that day, and we prepare for that game like I think we should and that we can under the Bama standard, then I believe that we hold our destiny in our own hands. Win every game, and you make it to the college football playoff. So the next game on the schedule just happens to be LSU at Baton Rouge. And I believe that we will be able to prepare to go in there. I think one thing that we did in the bye week, which I've heard, is work really hard on taking being able to communicate, even though the crowd is loud, and making sure that the linemen have their communication, the wide receivers and the quarterback can communicate well, even in spite of the crowd, and realizing that it's going to be big there at LSU. So what does Alabama need to do? When Alabama has the ball, we need to establish the run. LSU has given up some 100-yard games to some rushers that's played for in the SEC, the Tennessee back, the Mississippi back, the Auburn back, all got over 100 yards. So I think it's important that we run the ball. We can't give up on running the ball, because I believe running the ball will set up the pass for us. LSU has a lot of athletic players on defense. So it's going to be up to our offensive line to win the line of scrimmage in order for us to run the ball successfully in this game. I look for Jahmyr Gibbs to have a big game running the ball. I believe he has a big game passing the ball, because there's some matchups there that we can take advantage of. But I think in order to be able to take advantage of those matchups, we're going to have to run the ball to set up our passing play. I think Bryce Young is going to have to call the right plays on run pass options, run the ball when he gets his tails to run the ball, and throw the ball when they are all in the box and loaded the box. And I think if we can do that, then we can take advantage of them. I think Bryce Young has a big game passing. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has a big game running the ball. And on offense, we do well. I think we need to take some shots downfield against this LSU defensive team. I believe that's going to loosen up us a little bit to run the ball more, which will in turn help our play action passing. So I think that's really one thing that we can do to help ourselves. The other thing is we can't have any mistakes. We got to limit our penalties, and we got to limit our turnovers in this game. I believe that's been worked on over the bye week, and I think that we're going to come out and execute a game plan that allow us to go into Baton Rouge and take advantage of some of the things that LSU gives us. And I believe they're going to give us an opportunity to run the ball and pass the ball at certain stages. It's going to be up to Bryce Young to choose the right play in order to take advantage of the matchups that we got. In other words, take what the defense gives us. And if we do that and we limit our penalties and limit our mistakes, we don't have a problem winning this ball game. What we got to do on defense? When LSU has the ball, we got to make sure that we stop the run. We're going to have to stop the run so that they can't run the ball and get off the field on third down running the ball. We got to make them pass the ball. And when they pass the ball, we got to put pressure on their quarterback. Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback. He can extend plays with his legs. He has a really good arm. He plays within the system and runs the system well. So in order to stop LSU when they have the ball, we're going to have to stop the run, and then we got to pressure the quarterback. I think Will Anderson Jr. comes up big in this game. I believe Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell all have big games. I believe that we can pressure the quarterback into making some mistakes in this game, and that's where Eli Ricks and Kool-Aid McKinstry comes in. I believe there'll be opportunities for us to really get some turnovers in this game through the passing game. If we can pressure the quarterback and get him to throw the ball under pressure, I believe we have an opportunity to intercept some of those passes. So I think Eli Ricks has a big game. I think he makes a difference in this game. I believe he's going to want to play well against his former team, and I believe he goes out and has a big game. I expect him to have an interception in this game and a turnover. So we need to create pressure on the quarterback, which causes turnovers, and we need to stop the run. And we don't need to make any penalties in this game on defense that would extend them on third or fourth down, like we've done in some other games. So clean up our penalties on defense, cause turnovers, stop the run, and pressure the quarterback into making some decisions that hurt them down the road. Well, I think in this game, if we do all those things, we'll see Alabama come out a victory. Like I said, it's in our hands. All we have to do is win the next game on the schedule to make it to the college football playoff. And the next game on the schedule is LSU in Baton Rouge. I think Alabama goes in there. We have a big game, a good game on a national stage, audience, prime time at night. Alabama comes away with a big victory. I got the score is Alabama 45, LSU 22. Well, that's it this week for the DC Capstone Report. Thanks for all tuning in. Look forward to be back with you next week. Until then, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report, signing off and saying roll tide.